Good evening, lovely humans and Rainbow Six Siege enjoyers, and welcome to the new Rainbow Six Siege Finals. We're going to be seeing two teams battling it out for that title and for the Twitter bragging rights. I'm Janiro, your host for today, and joining me are the incredible, the talented, the amazing casters, Grace and Novi Lane.
Talented.
Thank you,
Talented. I don't know about that.
No, thank you so much. We are so happy to be here. Look at this amazing stage that we've got. We've got the Noah plushies. We've got an amazing host, an amazing production team. Let's get into it.
Yeah, so, you're kind of already talking about you're feeling rather excited with the equipment we got available here. Both of you have adopted a child. We can name them later on. That's all good. But I'm going to start off with you, Novi. How are you feeling about the games specifically that are going to be happening tonight?
Specifically the games. I mean, there's a lot. Like you said, the stage is insane.
I mean, you know what? Take it away.
But yeah, games, I think we're at this really exciting point of Siege, especially, where despite the fact we still see staffs in the final, we are seeing this new talent come through. We're seeing this repeats, and it is just great to see this insane season we've had.
Yeah.
And the fact that we've gotten to this point is kind of ridiculous in itself.
Yeah, and let's talk about this season. Specifically, let's talk about the bracket. 9 weeks of blood, sweat, tears, scrims. I don't even know how much time these teams have dedicated to actually be able to compete here today. And I'm going to ask you once again, Nervi, how did we get here? What has given us the opportunity to stand on this stage and be casting this?
Okay, I'll let Grace handle the upper bracket part because you know, I'm sure there's some stuff that she'll want to touch on. I'm going to focus on the lower bracket. Firstly, is at the start of the regular season, if you spoke to Golu, if you spoke to Cairo, or any of us, Dino as well, we would have said probably the finals would have been Staffs and Love Rose. Love Rose actually dropped down to the lower bracket, getting knocked out by Swansea, one of our finalists, and then got taken out by Neo Citadel, which is kind of a surprise, seeing how much talent is on that roster. Like, I think I was certainly shocked to see that, because I think we were watching the Office Chairs MMU game, because we were like, oh, okay, Love Bros, they're favourites. They're probably going to win that game. And then we saw an upset.
We did see an upset. And again, I think the Neo roster is the one that's kind of upset me the most, because I get so infuriated. I know the players themselves probably hear it in my cast. They have so much potential there, so much talent, and they just whiff it at the last minute.
Every time.
Every time.
Every time. And then I've got to shout out Office Chairs. I've got to do it
because they give you an office chair?
Yeah, no, because they gave me the Office Chair. They can. I'm happy for that sponsorship. But Office Chairs was the only team not to be in varsity. So they were not in the top 12 universities. They came from the Open League. They won their qualifier. It was in interesting circumstances as well. But not only did they make it as essentially the bottom seed, and there was this awkward technical issues to qualify as well. It was kind of weird. So there's kind of an asterisk next to them. They proved themselves. They fought all the way through to the lower bracket final, eventually getting taken out by Swansea, one of our finalists. So, like, they certainly proved that they should be up there, and it's one of the first times we've ever had an Open League team make that kind of run. It was very, very impressive.
Yeah, and talking about the teams that actually did prove their worth and did prove that they deserve to be here today, we got Pew Pew, and we also got Swansea coming through, but we're going to start off by looking at the roster specifically from Pew Pew. I know, Grace, you're really itching to answer this question, and it's going to be, who should we be keeping our eyes on tonight?
Every single last one of them. Honestly, claps on fleek. This roster, okay, historically, Staffs and Swansea, the last 5 years, on fleek, massive rivalry here. But this Staffs roster, specific Staffs roster, you got Max D, Angelix, Majir, Cyber, JGF5, massive amounts of experience at this point, not only playing within the university circuit, we've seen them play within UKIN 2 under Flight through a different sponsorship position there. We've seen Cyber play in different natty leagues as well. JGF5 joining Staffs has been an amazing thing. As soon as I saw that happen, my face lit up like a Cheshire cat. I was so excited. So excited. I love this roster. I think that there's a reason why they've come into this new season and they've 7-0'd people from the start.
But they had, no. They almost got 8-7'd. Like to be to like an 8 seed as well. Okay, elapse. This team is not faultless. They sometimes have their off days. Today could be one of them.
Yeah. And would you say maybe that's what you're expecting to see here? Do you think it's going to be more of a closer match from the side of Pew Pew? Or do you think Swansea, their roster, has what it takes to kind of like knock it out of the park?
Swansea culturally, ever since they first formed, ever since Jake Southster, gotta shout my man out, like, he's an amazing guy. They've always been disciplined, heavy on the strategy. So the chaos that Pew Pew can bring could break that. However, Pew Pew over the experience is worth nothing if you don't execute. We saw many teams completely falter at the highest level. The best being Delta Project getting smacked out of UKIN Rainbow Rumble from a UKIN 2 team. So, but it does depend on what map picks we get. That is super important, because we all know Pew Pew on Cafe is they're kind of built different.
Well, we're going to be heading into map picks shortly, but before we do, just want to point out that these teams are going to be competing for £250 worth of Amazon vouchers each. Woo. And that, unique branded Newell hoodie coming through. Map picks are going to be coming through here in Casters. Do your thing.
I mean, Clubhouse, Snowy, what can we say about Clubhouse? The Plowman Sandwich, as we call it. Standard map pick in any, especially when it comes to the best of 5. You want those safety nets of your Clubhouses, of your Oregons. Yeah. Probably at some point we'll see a little bit of Chalet spiced in as well, maybe. A classic at the moment as well. And there we have it, Novi, a cheeky bit of Chalet from map number 2.
Okay, all right. So Clubhouse, I kind of like this for Swansea, because compared to, say, Chalet, where I still think no team has really got their head round, okay, this is the default meta. Clubhouse has that standardization to how you play it. I think that actually kind of leans into Swansea because it kind of restricts staffs from being able to throw something crazy, because everything that could have been done weird with Clubhouse has been done at some point before, and you can kind of see it coming. Chalet's this wild card. For Swansea, I'm a little bit worried about it.
I mean, again, it's, well, Bank, that's a perfect map number 3 to see, to be honest, ladies and gentlemen. Bank just gone back into the competitive map pool. We love to see it, one of my favourite maps as well. They've taken away my coastline, but I get my Bank back. I'm happy with that one. And I'm happy to see these two teams battle out. Again, gives me a lot of nostalgia from back in the day, let me tell you.
And so far, anything standing out specifically, maybe some expectations here that haven't been met? You know, Villa is going to be the map number 4 coming through. Is this what you wanted to see? Is this what you thought you were going to be seeing? Or is it a little bit of a curveball?
One thing I think that might be interesting to note is the fact that looking at the Clubhouse pick, I'm going to assume that was Staffs, which means that Swansea will probably opt to start on defence.
Okay.
And then on Chalet, if Staffs have opted to start on defence there, that might give Swansea an upper hand because, again, Chalet is an attacker-sided map. It's kind of like Coastline 2.0, but with a bit more nade action at times. Oh, yeah, just a confirmation that Chalet, Swansea will indeed be on that attack. So that is spicy, ladies and gentlemen, because, again, if they can do a really good job of this Clubhouse defence going into it, and then they go into that Chalet attack, should actually be pretty decent for them to try and get their bearings out, get a few of these maps under their belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, as the great Ollie XR Troika said, Chalet is attacker-sided if you're a good team. Only if you're a good team. If you are bad, like lights out for you, defense will be the better side. But it's an interesting pool. Interesting that Cafe was decided as the decider because, of course, Staffs starts 1-0 up as our upper bracket finalists.
Yeah, and Nervy, based off of that, it's going to be a weighted best of 5 coming through. And we also seen the maps. If you had to give a very quick prediction, what would that be?
I think the way it's going to go, I think it's going to be a 3-1 to Staffs.
Okay, Grace, do you agree? Would you like to disagree?
I don't know. I
went down the middle. I went the easy one.
I knew he was going to get me like that. No, I'm going to say that I think Swansea themselves know they've got their cards put up for them at the moment, and I think that if Staff show up on their absolute top form, this will be a 2-0.
Well, I guess we're going to be finding out since we're going to be heading into games specifically. Best of luck to everyone out there. But before we do so, he has talked about the predictions, and I kind of want to talk about the... I want to talk about the game specifically. I'm going to be sending it over to cast. There's a couple of messages coming through, so do your thing.
We will indeed do our thing. I'm excited. Novi's excited. Thank you so much, De Niro, for joining us here on the desk. Let's get stuck into these bands, Novi. It's what we're all about. We are on Clubhouse for the Newell Spring season, the varsity finals. Let's get stuck in. Classic Maverick band to start us off, Novi.
Woo! We're here. We're on Clubhouse. It's a little bit of a letdown. I was kind of hoping for some really spicy, like coastline or something for the first one. But we'll take Clubhouse. It's fine. I think it's kind of, for me, it's a benchmark map. If you, you're expected to play Clubhouse well. So if you don't, well, that's very telling for a team. And I think this is where both sides, we're going to kind of see what series we can get. If Swansea comes out, they're disciplined, they're doing their defaults, they're winning their ones, which is probably going to be their hardest thing because of the firepower of Pew Pew, then I think Swansea stands a chance at least to make this series very competitive. If Pew Pew struggles to perform, then we didn't really get to touch on it, but the mental factor for this side, because they are so good, they are coming in as the top dogs, when you've got an underdog chasing at your heels, suddenly that pressure's on if you're not performing because you're not meeting those expectations.
I mean, I will say that Pew Pew have gone into this with very sensible bans, as have Swansea. So again, both these teams, if I am going to predict off those bans alone, they're going into this with the right mental. They're focused. We're probably going to see now with these operator lineups, the kind of vibes we're going to go for. And again, it's looking very, very standard, very by the book. We're even seeing a bit of Carly action come out from Magier there as well. Again, depending on where they get to see Swansea are being, we may see that repick because, if they are going basement, it's for Carly as needed really. You can get those church walls open from above. There's other ways of potentially getting into... Actually, no, there wouldn't be. Actually, no, there would be. If you put a little cheeky nade in there, you don't have the Kaid anymore, so it's going to be mute jammers or bandits to deny the dirt tunnel. You can just nade it in through that little drone hole. So again, this is very, very interesting that we're going to find out in the next 30 seconds or so, ladies and gentlemen, where that Kali will be picked off. I think it will be.
Yeah, most likely. I do think this whole repicking of attacking operator does make the more standard maps, quote unquote, a little more interesting for the attackers. Because traditionally on Clubhouse, we would see Pew Pew pick a lineup of attackers, and it will not change for the entire game, regardless of who's on attack. It will just be the same exact lineup, day in, day out, just because, you know, it works. It's you know, it's what they can kind of rely on. But now you've got that luxury where, okay, look, it's in basement. Kali's not necessary. Let's switch off onto that Flores, which brings this different flavor to the lineup, and we're getting these tasty little treats on this attacking lineup where a Buck as well, an operator who, you know, usually you take the Sledge or something like that. They've said, hey, this is an opportunity for Buck, it's basement, we can do something with this.
I think it's also interesting to see the amount of mute action going on upstairs. They've gone full map drone denial there. They've also, again, having the Flores basically makes those Wamai magnets and those ADSs useless because you can just bypass the Flores to clear utility very, very easily now, if you're RV attack, that is. And look, already they've got that nice dirt tunnel open. They're making their way around the dirt, sending in a Flores drone as well. And again, upstairs, they're probably going to go into a little bit of action there with, well, there we go, Cyber getting the opening pick here, taking down SPAC, and already Stas getting the opening kill. It's looking pretty good in their favor, and they've got all that dirt control, so they can just sit here now and take some pop shots. And there we are, once again, Cyber taking down MC as well as Matei takes down Cute Machine, Sugar Honey Ice Tea taking down JJF5 as well. A 3 versus 3 Novi.
But it's starting to go the way of Swansea, despite Pew Pew's early aggression down dirt, starting to swing the other way. But the player has been downed just behind you. I mean, we can see his head because of the X-ray, but of course the attacker cannot. Will eventually get taken down. But Cyber taking another one, a triple kill going their way. Max is going to start to stick the plant as well on the diffuser, not able to deny it with the Wamai, but he's going to be creeping around as Cyber gets the 4K. That is the round. I think that was an interesting one because I feel like Swansea almost looked like the better team, but Stas looked like the better players.
Well, Swansea went for that full extension, as I say. They went for the full extension and they had that drone denial. It's just the fact that Stas were there, like, well, we can literally just march our way through dirt, get a few picks here, get into kitchen as well, because again, that extension of the roam was so on top floor. No one was really covering that logistics area to look down into the kitchen. No one was really in the kitchen area anyway as well. And it's the fact that when we get to round number 1, that's when it's kind of like putting the feelers out a little bit, and Staffs just went full speed ahead, and that's what I like to see, Novi. That's really what I like to see.
I think that last-minute swap onto the Buck and Flores was, as soon as they saw that Dirt didn't have a mute jammer on it, they thought, well, okay, we can open it up with the hard breach on the Buck, and then we can use the Flores to use the Rosero drone to then blow up whatever shield is there. There is nothing stopping, as you said, the Flores from bypassing all the utility you had. The only counter to it was the mute. And the mute jammers, as you said, weren't even used in dirt. They were used upstairs for that extended hold. The extended hold doesn't matter if they're already in dirt and they've killed your smoke.
And again, we speak of intel, and see intel that wasn't really available on site to let Mate know where exactly Max XD was planting. He assumed it was the default spot. It wasn't. It was slightly tucked behind those cupboards as well. So, to be honest, really, if you're Swansea right now, you are trying to play it very well. You're trying to go for these, default denials and stuff. It's just, this is why I'm slightly at cross right now. They've actually gone to the same site. I think at least go for your full rotation first, and then go back to that site, because it gives you that time to work out the nooks and crannies. Now, Staffs have just gone through it once. It's fresh in their muscle memory. This could be another upset, to be honest, Novi.
And the thing is, there's probably 2 players out of the 5 on Staffs didn't really do anything. They just kind of got picked off. JJ got in an uncomfortable position, got picked off from a crossfire. And I think Majir was, not Majir, Q Machine was kind of in a similar situation. So this is now Pew Pew attacking the same site again that they just won, using a similar strategy, but this time backed up with the knowledge of what those players did wrong in the previous time. And so you've actually got JJ on the Nook, just sneaking their way through security and through the CCTV. MC takes the first, and that's Cyber, the big firepower on the stats. But JJ wins out with the Desert Eagle, completely guns MC down. And just like that, we're 1 for 1 on either side, an advantage neither way. For some reason, I feel like that goes in favor of Staffs.
It does, but that spooked me a little bit there. It looked like JJ was kind of, you know, window checking, eye checking himself, and no one's really droning him there. But again, they've got all that top floor control now, they've got the kitchen control, and now they just have to work on this dirt to go for the collapse.
But it's tricky. The smoke hasn't been cleared out. For some reason, the Rosero drones aren't able to get quite there. Yeah, there's a mute jammer, so preventing that from happening. You can see Cute Machine sort of scanning it. Okay, that's understood why. We're going to have to burn some utility to clear that out. There are frag grenades available. Oh my god, I was about to duck there in real life, but it was actually the magnet removes it from that position, and that's wasting time. But here is the challenge. Here is where the skill takes place. SPAC has to be aware of how many magnets are available in this position, because otherwise he's going to get picked off from, you know, just a normal flashbang and then just a peek around the corner, but they weren't expecting it. Staffordshire, you have to check your corners. Swansea gets completely in the lead, get completely SPAC'd down because he took you out. Max XD is the last player remaining, and Staffs is in shambles.
I mean, that is significant plays coming through there from SPAC again. Double shotty to the face. We love to see it. But Max right now, I mean, he's taken the gusto to actually fall down, but the toxic babes are coming out. And there we go, Matty swinging around that corner, taking him out. A round going in favor of Swansea.
Okay. For sure. I feel like, I don't know, that time, that one change, that one mute jammer, I feel completely flipped the script slightly on that one.
I don't think it's just that. I think it's the util that was used coming in from the attackers. They should have dealt with that smoke as quick as possible. If you've got a smoke in dirt, you know that you are in danger because it's a very twisty, turny little tunnel. You've got all of these corners. The last thing you want is a close counters engagement with a shotgun. Thank you for that beautiful replay production as well. Again, when you're just allowing yourselves to line up like that for him to get those kills, that's where the issue is. They should have sent in a bit of util first to deal with him, push him back a little bit, keep pushing him back into sight, and then that's how you really safely get dirt, to be honest. If you're going to swing, don't swing together like that.
Yeah, it's one of those interesting ones because they had the flashes to clear out the magnets first, but they opted for a frag grenade instead. Then they decided to push it out. Yes, the mute jammer was there, but they could have at least had someone go close enough to clear the mute jammer and then drone round just to be sure. I feel like the time pressure, because there's about 40, 50 seconds left, was starting to grab its claws into the side of Staffs, and they kind of went, we've kind of just got to move this. They made a little bit of a misplay, and that slight misstep gave Swansea the opening to just come in and just take that round out for them. And now we're seeing them move on to their secondary sites. The CCTV cache room, very, very standard approach. We're not going to see the Carly, I'm afraid, but we are going to see good old Thermite back in rotation, and Habana has been swapped onto Majir.
I mean, again, this is the issue here now. When you don't have that Carly, you're really relying on someone to go underneath to deal with those bandit charges as well. So that's why we're going to see Cute Machine and Max XD start to drone their way into lounge. Mate ready and waiting for them, though. So they're going to have to go round to stock and go for a little bit of a cheeky push. And, well, there we go. You can't really push into that if Mate is just going to pick you out one by one like that again. Ideally, should have waited for the push there if you're JJF5. But hopefully a refrag can come through from Q right now. But, again, just delaying a little bit around this kennels area, and Matei causing a little bit of a nuisance, Novi.
And this is one of the double-edged sword elements of experience and expectations. JJ is predominantly an entry fragger. He is happy to just roll in and start taking heads. He has impeccable aim, but you're not going to always win every single one. It's just impossible. On that Iana, dying in the first minute means you lose out on the replicator, you lose out on all that information, and the frag grenades as well. That's such a huge loss. And maybe that's JJ sort of sticking or reliving that role rather than adapting to what the team needs and what the operator dictates, and it causes a little bit of a mistake. My question is, Swansea is slowly getting picked apart because the longer it goes on, the closer Stas will get to coming towards that execute. And if they don't find enough advantages or they start bleeding out, Swansea will still lose despite what happened to the Iana earlier in the round.
Well, this is it. All of those nades gone now on the side of Cute Machine because, you know, Spack took significant damage earlier in the round from one of those nades. Didn't quite finish him off, though, so he still is on the table. He still does have those toxic babes as well, which they're really going to need as this execute starts to come through. Magier putting a lot of pressure here on the garage stairs. There we go. Takes down MC, who was lurking around that R1 area, and a 4 versus 3 in the favor of Staffs. It's looking pretty decent. They just need to get a little bit of a move on and go for this collapse.
This is where the time element comes in. This is where mistakes are made. 2 toxic base still available on Spack, and Matty's still available. Got this slight vertical angle through onto the garage rafters. Cute Machine's rotating around as well, and Magier might be on the window holding points, but to get through that, that's going to be through a hail of bullets. But Max making that thermite work for them. The toxic bay is going to be kept out. Spack still has one. This is possible for Swansea, depending if the utility is used right. The late rotation by Jaff as well, but Max XD is planting. Spack uses the toxic bay, doesn't quite hit. Jaff sprays through the floor, but it doesn't hit. Max gets the third, and Jaff is left in a 1-on-2 to try and recover it. Cute Machine takes him down, and that is Staffs coming way too close for comfort on that round.
That's such a shame. Jaff had completely the right angle there. He knew the placement. He just did some weird little hip fire situation, flippy flappy around with your bullets. Like, come on, commit to that. Do a full-on focus spray, and I reckon that he could have shut Max down then. That's really, really unfortunate on the side of Swansea. Makes me very, very cross indeed. But moving into round number 4, again, only 1 round ahead at the moment are Staffs, and if you're Swansea, you're like, fine. Once again, they're going back to the same place. It's, I guess they're going under the guise of, if it doesn't work the first time, it'll defo work the second time. We know where we went wrong last time, but at the same time, if you're Staffs, you know where it went wrong last time.
Yep.
Not waiting for that pinch to come through at the start of the round as well. I really do think that's where they unraveled themselves at that early round, to be honest. Again, it's just making sure that you're not trying to take those solo fights. You're pushing together for that pinch as a team. So I'm really hoping that Staffs start to do that now.
Yeah, we've seen already between round 1 and 2 the differences JJ will make. I was very harsh on him in the previous round because that was a mistake by him, but he made a mistake in the first round, got caught out in an open position. The second round, he goes in as Nook, gets the opening kill, and does so very, very well. So JJ is one of those players who will learn and adapt. That what makes him such a good entry fragger. And I'm, like you said, because it's the same site, more scared for Swansea. This is, I feel like once the attackers go through all their checklists, this is one of the most open sites on Clubhouse. It's one of the most difficult once the attackers do that for the defenders. And so really, you've got to try and hold on for as long as possible, but you know it's eventually going to come down. Just depends how fast. That worries me for Swansea. I know they've got this bandit, but the amount of times we've seen bandit tricking just not working makes it a little bit tricky.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, they just need a space here to try and go for a bit of a cheeky nade onto that floor, and that's going to allow Max. There we go. Bandit charges taken away. Sugar Honey. Oh, God, I thought they were going to try and put down. Oh, no! The nade kill coming through the floor by JJ F5. That is unfortunate. I thought he was going to try and put down some extra bandit charges. I don't actually think he had any. I think he was just trying to contest that floor hole that had been created, and now that wall is nice and opened up. And if you're Staffs right now, garage control needs to come through.
Attackers dropped the diffuser.
Cyber getting picked back up because of the Finker adrenaline charge. Now, just got a slight issue because should be aware that the Buck's back up, but MC's going to take the first. That's Iana out of the fight. Once again, JJ only good for 1, but that's Max going down. So the hero of the previous round has been slain, gets suffocated to death like Smoke can now be from the toxic base. Now it's a 3-on-3 situation, but Magier once again on the rafters position, usually gets up to the window and holds that, but Matty was the player who was anchoring and was previously taken out by Max on the flank. Without Max here, someone has to fulfill that role, and Max was on an absolute tear. So if Matty's still alive, this round, despite how it currently looks, I still think looks quite good for Swansea.
I'm very cross at Max for just kind of waltzing into sight, though. Again, no one was holding those crossfires at the time that he just went shimmying into the CCTV, and then now he is dead, and it's like, well, that's a bit of a cause for concern for his teammates now, because it's like, well, we're a man down, and we need to try and go for this execute without a lot of the utility that Max had that could have been quite useful, but looks like Cyber's going to try and get a little bit aggressive in this cache area and hunt out some of these players, and there we go, gets one of them, immediately traded out by Jaff, though, on the Malusi as the plant starts to go down a 2 versus 2. Matei looking for the heads of Cube Machine and Majir, but no, Cube Machine already on it, ready and waiting, and there's a second one onto Jaff. Another round in the bag by Staffs.
The LMGs. Don't need to reload with that weapon. Insane stuff. But yeah, good job by Staffs, good job. Swansea looked like they were in control. I feel like Matty was going a little too aggressive. Had the sound cue was close enough to CCTV to just wait. Got a little bit bolshy with it, got punished. And that's that beautiful grenade kill from underneath by JJ. And now Staffs moves ahead 3-1. Not looking too good for Swansea. Now, do they go back to the same sites? Or do they go to their tertiary? Oh, well, no, they can go down to bottom 4 now, can't they? So they're opting for their only site win, that is Church and Arsenal.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
An interesting site for both times we've seen it. The first time it's really off the heroics of Cyber. The second time it was off the heroics of SPAC. So neither side really has a leg to stand on in regards to how well they perform in either attacking or defending basement.
Yeah, and I think that, again, it's just these tiny little mistakes. Maybe, again, it's just first map jitters on both sides at the moment, but I do think that there are times where Staffs are being a little bit too kill hungry when they should be focusing the objective more. As an example, you know, Max going, running into CCTV instead of just being like, okay, maybe we get some angles held first before I try and go for this, and maybe I don't peek that.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
What do you mean I can't just sprint onto site? What do you mean I have to wait for my team?
Honestly.
I thought this was a first-person shooter.
Made in my life when players do that, because I feel like they do it, they know I'm going to get cross at them after as well. This is the issue. They know I'm going to be in the DMs like, what are you doing?
But the thing is if it works, they'll be like, I told you so.
Yeah,
And that is the most annoying thing. When they do something stupid and it works. To be fair, I always say, you know, it ain't stupid if it works, because you can't really
still
criticize
stupid.
It. Nah,
it's still stupid.
Nah, it's fine.
But again, look at this. JJF already in dirt tunnel. SPAC once again being the main point of defense. Again, curious. We've got the Flores. These drones need to come through, and they need to get rid of that shield. There we go. It looks like. Oh wait, no, this is a normal drone actually. This is it. Okay, they got the view jammer, fair enough, but they can get rid of that as soon as possible. Maybe even send. Oh, they got the ADS, they can't send nades. But that vert play is indeed going to come through from the kitchen as well. This is a really nice setup here. Just kind of taking your time. You've got the mute jammer to deny any drones. You've got the ADSs to protect yourself from any nades. They have to go for these peaks, and then you're just there, SMG11 in hand, potential shotty in hand too, throwing out your toxic babes at your leisure, SPAC, at your leisure.
Playing smoke and dirt is probably one of the hardest roles, I think, in Siege. It is insanely hard. And look, both those ADSs are gone, plus the shield for apparently free. There is no counter to that. The toxic base will go out just to waste a little more time, but eventually SPAC is going to have to back out and does so, but gets shot through the floor because Cyber, ready and waiting. Kitchen has gone over to the side of Staffordshire, and now Swansea is left in very open positions. Lines of sight being opened up onto site, and that will not do you a lot of good, especially if you're not in a position where you can actually, you know, for Swansea rotate and contest these players from Staffs who want to get in sight. We know what they're like. Staffs like to get in onto site and then they just cause chaos. They thrive in those gunfights. So you allow them to set the crossfires where they can pinch you. They just relish it. They relish this environment. We might see an engagement here. Cyber gets beaten out by Jaff, who's on an absolute winner. Goes down, backs away, but that's the perfect play. And with 35 seconds left, he might have just done enough to put Swansea in a winning position.
Zip plant going down, Majir sticking about the best he can, but the echo coming through. We all love to see the yokai action. JJF taking down Jaff as Matei trades back to Majir. JJ taking down MC. Matei taking down Max and JJF. Q Machine taking down Matei, but it's all left to him in a 1 versus 1. And those yokais are still on the board, and Sugar Honey Iced Tea is the one to get that final kill, winning out that round for Swansea.
Sugar Honey Iced Tea, take a big sip. You deserve it. Hydrate after that round because you must have been sweating so hard. First the Echo drones, the Yokai drones, and then actually just clipping the arm of Cute Machine as well, the Finker, just to, you know, take her out, win that round. That being said, Swansea still down around. The best they can hope for in this half is a 3-3 for defense on Clubhouse. You know, I think it's pretty standard because of how it goes, but really on defense you'd be wanting to get 3, maybe 4. 4 would probably be the nice number to hit. Really, Swansea needs to get this next round, otherwise Staffs is going to make their life hell.
Locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
I mean, this is it, because I think that, especially when it comes to Gym Bedroom, okay, what I'm hoping here, again, I've mentioned the experience within that Staffs roster, they should know how important this nade meta is, especially when it comes to this site, especially if they're going to hold bathroom. Again, the fact that we're not seeing a bit of cheeky mirror action indicates to me that perhaps no one will hold bathroom, and if they do, I'm kind of curious as to how the walls are going to be looking in bathroom to deal with that spar wall breach, and again, probably get a little bit of a shot at that and get a little bit of a hint as to how they plan on defending that soon. So again, MC kind of re-evaluating where he wants these ADSs to go, and Banshee's ADS is protecting the doorway. Again, okay, that was completely soft. The bathroom wall is completely soft. No one is going to be holding bathroom. So what happens if that spar wall is open, Novi? You know, no one's going to be able to really protect it. Okay, they do have one reinforcement on the right-hand side, but again, how are you going to peek that? How are you going to safely peek that if you are holding that bathroom area? And again, everybody knows to try and stay away from it in a way now because people will come underneath and nade it, but I just think Swansea are just going to probably end up giving away Spar for free here because I do not see much utility investment around that area at all.
The only sort of tactic I could imagine is potentially using the mute jammers to the point where Swansea denies any information of that shower room. So they don't know necessarily if someone is behind it because of the mute jammers. If they do that, Staffs essentially have to respect the possibility that a player could be there, whether they are or not, and they need to take that into account. That means they play a little more cautiously, but here we go. This is even with the mute jammers. I'm not sure if there was one on Jacuzzi
There was indeed.
It was indeed, but you can still open it anyway, just with the repel. But
Attackers
MC,
have located a bomb.
first kill going over to the side of Swansea. JJ once again the recipient. He goes in hard, but it doesn't always work for him. And now, Matty is looking a little bit aggressive against the Finker, but Finker is stimmed up. Has the spear in hand, actually, so not opting for the LMG this time. So interestingly enough, swapping the weapons in the middle of the game, but Max is going to be replied. Wait, Max is on site. How is Max on site? This is exactly what you said, Grace. Exactly what you said.
This is what I say. And I know he's going to be there like, when it worked, I got this kill. Goodness gracious me. Again, where's the rest of your team right now, Max? Because you're in a 2 versus 3. Yes, you may have, you know, your position on site, but you got to think about the angles that these defenders could suddenly turn around and flex upon you. Well, Cyber actually doing a good job there, and well, but it's going to assume that the last one is probably offside at this point. Cyber taking one down, Max taking the other, but again, MC needs to get back to site. 1 versus 2. Max doesn't really have that much health to work with, but again, at the same time, you got to think about the utility MC has in his pocket. There is nothing. There's nothing there to really use now that this utility on site is presumably lost. This has to be a gunfight, and he needs this information to come through from his teammates, but I don't think that information is going to be there, to be honest. I think this is all going to be guesswork.
Almost. Like, started pre-firing onto the mattress, and then reset the spray. That is very, very tricky to do. It just happened that the other player was just more accurate. Like, that's what it came down to. The one went the other way. Staffs move to a 4-2 lead from the attack on Clubhouse. Worrying signs for Swansea, for sure. But, okay, like, to be fair, a very frag-heavy team like Staffordshire, you imagine when they can go in, sort of start taking heads, taking names on that attack, it lends them to that style. Defense, sometimes you have to be a bit more coordinated. Will we see a sort of teething period in this first game while Staffs are getting used and comfortable to the switch of pace when they're not necessarily controlling it and it's Swansea instead? that could be the opening Swansea needs to try and get themselves back in the game.
Defenders, protect your bombs.
I mean, it
from
depends on
being
how much of a
defused by
goblin
attackers.
Max is going to play this, to be honest, because again, like we discussed, Max has been just kind of a few, not the safest of plays he's making. Yes, he's getting those kills in his belt, but it's one of these things where I'm like, he should be getting punished for this a little bit more than he is. And how that translates to defense, actually, to be honest, unfortunately, it will work out for him in theory pretty well, because the attack, they always have their step A, B, and C, their little checklist in their pocket as to where they want to be. If you suddenly spring up out of nowhere throwing the old razzle dazzle, you will catch them by surprise, and you can often get a number of kills for yourself there too. But again, it's going to really come down to Swansea's use of flank drones, things like that. They've already, picked back onto the Ying, the Buck, the Habana. I love the fact that they're choosing to bring the Ying. That's a little bit spicy, to be honest. Those 3 Candelas, soon to be 4 again, Novi, actually. We did notice the update from Ubisoft the other week where it is soon to be 4 Candelas coming back at some point in the near future. But for now, it's back. They've got 3 little Candelas in their pocket, those 2 little tin can openers as well, if they do want to go for a bit of hard reach as well. Got Sugar Honey on the Habana. Of course, that Buck, that soft 30 utility. Jaff, beautiful opening pick there onto JGF5. A little bit of a spicy one. JGF5 stuck in that corner a little bit there. And yeah, opening pick going on the side of Swansea.
Swansea's been pretty consistent at being able to get this, but this is when staffs get prickly, I want to say. They're a bit like a porcupine or a hedgehog in the way of, as soon as you think they're this little cutesy animal, you get the advantage, they'll come in and go, and sort of like, Noah looks very cute. He's got the horn, and that can do some damage. Staffs reminds me a bit like that. They go down at the beginning, and then when you least expect it, they're like, surely the defenders, they've lost 2 players, they should be on site just waiting. No. Staffs is on the flank on the other side of the map, and they're going to come around and try and take you. Is that kind of style, and that pressure on the Swansea side is your comms have to be on point, because they will try and flank you and take any opportunities they can. So despite being 2 kills ahead, Swansea still needs to be so careful right now.
I just want to know which hedgehog hurt you, man.
No, I love hedgehogs, but they look so cute. But if you treat a hedgehog wrong, it's going to give you a little jab.
I think it's a little bit of an upsee that Staffs have obviously lost 2 of their players in the first minute or so. But again, they're still holding on to dirt for Dia. Life Machine doing a really good job here. Keeping these attackers back with those toxic babes. Of course, it's a similar shield setup as well, which I do believe has now been destroyed. So we're going to see Mashir pull back a little bit more safely as well. I think, as you say, Max XD was on top floor. He's now making his way down the main stairs. Presumably will end up in that main stairs area. Maybe catch someone off guard in kitchen. And this could be an interesting one. More toxic babes going out from Majir right now. Again, the Candela's coming out. You just have to really hope. And Q Machine coming to help him. And there we go. 2K. Spack falling. MC falling. That is teamwork. That makes the dream work, Novi. That is what we like to see. Your teammate is flashed because the Candelas are coming out. You instantly react. And now it's all down to these 2 to fend off the rest of these defenders. Q Machine taking down Sugar Honey, Iced Tea, Mate and Jaff falling too. So left down to Mate now, and again Q Machine starting to feel themselves a little bit. They have the diffuser in pocket. What can you do if you are this Buck? And there we go, the goo kill at the end. We love to see it.
If the Staff's basement victory with Spack's double kill was A New Hope, then that was Empire Strikes Back. Because, actually no, a better analogy would actually be how Force Awakens was almost a complete rehash of A New Hope. It was the same thing, just shoes on the other foot. The pressure on Swansea means they run forwards, they take that play, they chuck their flashes in, and then Staffs is like, no. Cute Machine swings it, gets the double kill, and it just bounces all the way back to the other side. Man, I mean, what can I say? That's just a clever play. That's the kind of thing that comes from experience, being able to take that aggression and flip the momentum round.
I love the fact that Acute was able to really help Mashir out of that pickle then. This is what I mean. When you've got players who've played together so much, not only within the university circuit, but the other Natty leagues as well. Also, actually, shout out to Kubashi because actually playing in Benelux now, which is quite surprising. I did notice on the Benelux stream the other night, actually playing in Benelux. So I feel like a few of the UK rosters kind of slowly making their way over there because UK wasn't having a great time for them. But that's what we get for being the UK Massive. Everyone's so good, and there can only be one winner.
There
But
can only be one.
look at me, I am the winner now.
10 seconds left
Frost
before
Mat's
insertion.
going out on those Rafters 90, and I'm going to assume we're going to see some
5
utility on
seconds
Rafters
to
2 and 3, presumably ADSs. Cube Machine, once again,
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb. and
presumably
defuse
going
it.
to be a big benefit to the team, not only with the ADS utility, but I do know they can be pretty nutty on the Jaeger. This, again, is going to feel a little bit nostalgic, I reckon, Novi, but let's see how they get on. Again, once again, we're going to have to see the side of Swansea go underneath to deal with these bandit charges.
But my eye is on Cyber, because we haven't seen Aruni yet this game. And Aruni with the Sharia gates is one thing, with the bulletproof cam is another, but with the M21 EBR, that is a whole other kettle of fish. That is, for a type of site like this one where everything gets opened up, suddenly you've got a DMR, you've got a battle rifle, you can sit right at the back and you can contest those attackers that usually you have to wait until they get a bit closer on the defense. Suddenly you can bring the fight to them, which is exactly within SAS wheelhouse. That's what they like to do. They like to bring the fire, bring the pain, and really fight the attackers on that front line. They don't like to just wait and let you come towards them.
I mean, this is it, right? Because you've probably just talked as well.
has been
The
located.
push is coming from that Spar side. The push is coming from the direction that staffs probably weren't expecting. You tend to set a lot of that utility up against that breach wall, against that rafters, and this is where I want to see some of this utility get picked up and moved
Bomb
around a
located by
little bit.
attackers.
Although it does look like Sugar Honey still going to try and get this breach open, this main breach, but the bandit charges have not been removed, Novi.
So the first frag grenade goes shy. The second
The
one,
attacker's bomb
actually, if
diffuser
we
has
just
been
we
dropped.
just saw, went into the
Attackers
Sharia
recovered the
gate
bomb diffuser.
on the reinforced wall, denied it from exploding. That was actually huge. That delayed Swansea by probably a whole 20 seconds or so. Doesn't really matter because the
Defender
thermite
is
still
exposed.
ends up getting the wall.
JJ!
JJ going hyper aggressive,
Ooh.
hyper aggressive. But here's Cube Machine underneath, got the angle upwards. Don't usually see Vertical play the other way through hatches, but here we are. Another opponent outside. Sugar Honey Iced Tea might have gotten the Aruni, so no long arm M21 Big Iron coming down, raining Hellfire. Instead, Swansea's going to swing it the other way, but 3 Toxic Bays are in hand for Majir. This could be very, very difficult for Swansea if they don't take out the right players and they don't start executing less than 25 seconds. Max is still alive. JJ's still alive. It's a 3-on-3, and it seems like Swansea is just bleeding players. Staffs is just slightly worse for wear, but the Toxic Bay is
seconds
still
remaining.
keeping them out. So is Max. And where is Swansea?
remaining.
Why are they not on the site? The grenade still not getting cooked enough. The run
5
through the
seconds
smoke
left.
by Smack, but Majir ends up taking down MC. The diffuser is going to be stuck. Max should run through, and there we go. A little too close for comfort, but really Stas was setting the tempo every single second in that round.
To be honest, I think Swansea seemed to have so much patience throughout that I was like, this feels a little bit like a Jake Southster special, if I'm honest. There's a lot of patience waiting, delaying the execute. But again, Staffs is it's the positioning that I keep seeing from them at times. They're just going a little bit gung-ho at times. They really are hungry for these kills. But yeah, really at the end, a little bit too close for comfort. On both sides, to be honest. The fact that Swansea had to then stick once the timer had run out, and that's always an uncomfortable position to be because you can't really come off that diffuser. So it does give Max that flexibility, but Max kind of delayed a little bit of a flap about, really.
Attackers
So
need to locate and
again, that's
defuse
one of those
bombs.
rounds where I kind of just feel my body tense up because I'm like, oh no, I don't really know what's about to happen here. But I mean, what is about to happen here? They've got the mirror on the bathroom, but as I say, you know, a lot of people are familiar with these positionings now, and they know that you have to go underneath and you have to go for these nade kills. So this is where, ladies and gentlemen, we really have to pay attention to Mate, Jaff, and MC, because they are the operators right now with those nades in pocket, and they are the ones that we are hopefully expecting to deal with Majir there on the mirror. Assuming, of course, Novi, that Majir is going to be holding the bathroom mirror placement and not anyone else. It could be anyone, really. You've still got utility there. It's anyone's.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and
But
defuse
really, I don't know really what Swansea can do in this kind of situation. Every time they look like they seem to be getting in a hang of the pace of these rounds, every time they show that patience, Staffs pulls out the reverse card and, it's going Staffs' way. And you've got a question for Swansea, what this means for the wider series. They're starting off this series down a map already because they had to come through the lower bracket. They've already been beaten by Staffs in the upper bracket final and had to work their way through the lower. If you start down and you're already on championship point, or championship point is for your opponent, how does that play on your mental? How can you really rally that? I want to see Swansea dig deeply. If they don't dig deep, I'm very worried for them in this series.
Do you know what? I don't think Swansea are going to be too washed mentally by it, because at the same time they still made it to the grand finals, and that's a title and a half in itself. But it's also the fact that they knew going into this, everybody, I think even Jake posted a tweet about it earlier, it is going to be a difficult matchup right now because everybody knows what this Staffs roster is like. Everybody knows what these players are like. At times a bit too hyper-aggressive, but it seems to be working for them. And I say that through very, very gritted teeth.
Okay, MC's at least keeping it competitive. Using the Yana was traded off, but gets it to a 3-on-3. Still plenty of utility left in the hands of Swansea. They've, of course, got both hard breaches still alive, flashes and frag grenades, as well as a little bit of self-destruction as well. But more importantly, all three of the players are healthy, and they like to take his Angels with the Finker as well. That's just that little bonus where they can go for those slightly hyphy plays, try and match Staffordshire on the aggression, and potentially try and win out some of those ones. With a minute remaining, Staffs are, I want to say quite rarely, sitting fairly standard on the site, kind of waiting for them to come towards him. And that's something we don't usually see. Usually we'd see Max wandering off down on a different floor or something, trying to get something going. But instead, they're waiting patiently. Is this Staffs playing properly, quote unquote? Or are we going to see a Staff special?
Ooh, this is progress, and that's the C4. That's what we like to see. The juicy C4's kills coming through. Majir taking out Jaff there, and it's a 2 versus 3 for Swansea. Make that a 1 versus 3. It's all left down to Spack now. To be fair, bold statement, but I reckon if he tries to pick them off one by one, this could be pretty winnable for Spack. We've seen him do some decent numbers. There we go. There's 1, 2 more to get Spack. You just have to have patience, but the timer is ticking. There may not actually be enough time, and there we are. Cyber with that last pick there. We love to see it, a 7-2 victory to Staffs, but Swansea, bloody good job.
Grace has that grin, like almost as wide as Noah's right now, right? Like just so
I am
happy.
Noah now. I am Noah.
Staffs 7-2. I mean, it was a good performance. Swansea, they did show some elements there that were very positive, but it just didn't seem to be enough to really pull it through and turn some of those rounds. There was a few which could have gone 50-50, but Staffs were just so dominant.
This is it though as well. Okay, in fairness, Swansea, the way that they were attacking and the way they were getting that control, and then when they were setting up for the executes and stuff, they were perfectly formed and everything was really nice. Loads of patience at times too, which a lot of teams do get flustered. There was no flustering, it seemed, at times too, which I think was pretty good. It's the fact that, again, Staffs keep just doing these, it's ironic, I was going to say goblin moves, considering a lot of this roster were goblins in the last UK2 season, but it's just these goblin antics. We saw them do it to Jay Lings. We saw them do it to Jay Lings. And now these players are doing it here at the Newell Varsity Final, and I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the Staff special, isn't it? It's kind of like they've made it their own style, and it works. But they are now 2-0 up. Oh, wait, hold on. Noah, what was that? You know who's going to win the series? We're going to have to throw to the break, and the audience is going to have to wait to see who wins this series. Okay. Oh, we're going to go to replays, actually. So you're going to have to still wait a little bit more. Noah, you're getting ahead of yourself. Come on. Dude, come on. He's getting so eager. Noah. He wants to see more Siege.
Be right back, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, Swansea. I mean, Grace, any final thoughts before we leave the wonderful audience waiting for the next game? Well, what are your thoughts? What are your closing thoughts? Do you think, okay, I'm going to be mean, Swansea, can they bring it back in the next game on Chalet?
I reckon they can. Starting on attack, it should be pretty clean cut for them. It should be pretty clean cut for them.
There's hope.
Let's hope.
There's hope.
Again,
You heard it here first. You heard it here first. Grace is saying there is hope, which means Swansea is going to win the next game.
That's not.
Okay, go to the break.
hope.
Go, 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 go. Get out of here.
Welcome back, gamers, and what an absolute performance coming through from Pew Pew. They took that win away, and they're now 2-0 in the lead in this weighted best of 5 coming through. And I'm gonna have to ask that inevitable question here, Novi. What went wrong for Swansea there?
Actually, not many things went wrong. I per se, they actually played pretty solidly and pretty well. I think the issue was Staffs just did the goblin staff things, the goblin behavior, and it's like, well, what do you do in that position when Max is just gonna waltz his way onto site? Like that, you can't plan for that eventuality, and you kind of just gotta kind of riff it. And Staffs is far better at jazz than Swansea is. You know, riffing, improvising. Okay, never mind.
I agree with what Novi said. I think, again, the thing is when it comes to Swansea as well, they are doing things really, really well. Yeah. We're seeing them go through the motions. We're seeing, again, the patience of saints is what we're seeing from them. We're not seeing any flustered, chaotic plays towards the end. They're sticking to their guns with how they want to approach this. And as I say, this feels like a Jake Southter special at times. Yeah. But it's, again, the fact that Staffs are just doing these staff things, as we keep saying. Goblin plays, super hyper-aggressive at times, and it's throwing a spanner into what works.
Yeah, so we're going to be moving into Chalet. That's going to be the next map here. And if Swansea want to make sure that they can at least somehow try and even out their score in terms of the map wins that Pew Pew did secure, what do you think they should be focusing on, Grace?
I think, again, it's just making sure that you're bringing the right utility to deal with any hyper-aggression and things like that, and you're making sure that maybe it's a bit of cheeky nomad action would actually benefit them quite a bit when it comes to this, because you can cut off those rotates, you can cut off flanks, you can cut off when you're going for that execute and you think someone might try and get you from a different side, as an example. And again, just drone watch as an example, they need to really be on it with that. And again, when it comes to Chalet, they are starting on the attack, so they do have the advantage there, in theory, as we say.
In theory.
You know, yeah, in theory, but we've seen that go a bit pear-shaped before.
Yeah, I think for Swansea, I want to see them... Like, it's fine being patient. I think that's a really good strategy, actually, into Staffs. I think it's the right style. But if you're going to be patient, always use every single second you have to be trying to do the most optimal play. I think the dirt push was the most transparent, where they were using on its utility, trying to clear it, and then they just rushed in. They didn't drone first, they didn't really clear it out, and its Staffs will punish you for it. So if you're going to play that slow calculated, the Jake Southster special, you've got to be really, really intelligent about it and make sure you are just really, really organized and cohesive with it.
Grace, I'm going to have to ask you this interesting question specifically, and that is, do you think Staffs are going to be behaving themselves in the next map?
Absolutely not. I don't think they will. I think they've come in with the goblin energy. They're going to leave with the goblin energy. It's going to be a night of goblin antics, unfortunately, Gennaro.
Well, you know, it depends how you want to look at it. Unfortunately, fortunately, it's for the entertainment, it's content, and that's why we're here. But maybe... Do you think Grace is right? Do you think there's a...
Yeah, but I think when the Goblin energy comes out, that's kind of an opportunity, because that's when, you know, you can't really predict them, and that can go either way. You can get good Goblin behavior and it works, or you can get bad Goblin behavior where they do a stupid play, they get punished for it, and Swansea will come out with a victory. It can go... Yeah, both directions.
Yeah, well, we're going to be heading into game, and so we're going to be finding out whether or not that Goblin energy is going to be paying off in this third map here today. Good luck out there to both teams and casters. Take it away.
Oh yes, Chalet Ole, it's what we like to see. Again, it's just, we lost coastline, okay? We lost coastline. We want to see the attacker-sided map still coming through, because it's a little bit of fun. It's a little bit of a mix-up than the old classic, oh, it's defender-sided. Puts a little spice, a little bit of spice. Not even that medium spice, Novi. None of that medium spice, that extra hot spice at Nando's. And already the Flores ban coming out from Pew Pew. Very interesting one there. But again, I think they know how important that utility can be on the attack, especially because it means that those ADSs and Whammo magnets are going to be way more important now.
Yeah, Matty said, according to my script, we're about to win the next 3 maps. so maybe we'll see. Max XD seems to disagree a little bit, but there's the Thatcher ban, so pretty standard. Chalet is, like we said, if you play well, attacker-sided, but it's a very, very I don't know, interesting map. Every time we see it, we see different sites prioritized. We see different styles of play. A few things are starting to become a little, I want to say, common. So, like holding the top of stairs on Ivy, very, very important to put your utility as a defender there. And that Wamai ban, actually, that is super interesting because often you either use Jaeger or you use Wamai to entrench those deployable shields on those choke points. And you've lost one of those anti-utility operators. That forces the defenders to have to use the Jaeger, and ADSs can be cleared pretty easily if their position is known, or well, I guess the forest is taken out, so it kind of doesn't matter. But, you know, compared to the magnets can just be thrown out, ADSs you have to think a little more carefully.
I mean, this is it, and again, it's the idea of, okay, well, we've got the Flores ban, so they've also banned the Wamai magnets, even though them banning Flores makes those magnets all more useful and important. But we are going to see the Aruni, we are going to see a number of shields come out. It'd be interesting to see if Frost has that shield util as well as Smoke and the Goyo. Actually, Goyo doesn't have shield anymore, ladies and gentlemen. No, shield, it is just the straight up fiery little button. It looks like a button. I don't even know what to call it half the time. It's like a little button. It's like a big
button. I thought you were saying butter.
But it's like,
and I was like, what? Like a tub of butter? What are you on?
Goyo bringing out the butter, Smoke bringing the spice, Frost bringing some flour. They're gonna make a little bit of a cake for you all this evening. Who put spice in cake?
A spicy cake.
What? Do you know what?
It's
been one of those evenings, hasn't it?
But no. I get what you're saying because the Goyo change essentially. I mean, a lot of people were kind of calling it a nerf, which is understandable. However, the range on those things, the Vulcan charges, is huge when they detonate. We've seen it to an incredible effect on certain sites. One that rings true is Cafe, Top Floor, Cocktail. You can cover pretty much the entire site with just 2 of these babies. Like, it is really, really effective. But you have to understand the site, where you will play, where your transitional defense is to really get the most out of this operator, which means you have to plan ahead. Stats have shown they can do that. They've done that on Cafe. Have they done it across their whole map pool? If they're bringing it out on Chalet, I think this could already be quite a bad omen for Swansea.
I mean, to be honest, a bit of a whoopsie for staffs giving away trophy room for free, especially when you consider the fact that when you are attacking this site, the amount of 13 nade kills that can come through are a little bit... Actually, no, sorry, I've got the complete wrong site, Novi. Never mind, ignore me. I thought that they were in bedroom, but again, it's the fact that they are now able to easily make their way from that part of the map. With no contention, there's no roam presence there from the defense. There's not really a lot of utility yet. Of course, we're going to see some as soon as they're through that piano double. Again, assuming a shield will be top of main with Cyber there. Actually, yes, 2 ADSs and a shield, so that's good to see. Very standard by the book coming through from staffs. We're seeing these long lines of sight being held, and again, they're holding the upstairs as opposed to holding it entirely downstairs on site as well. ADS is getting burnt out, so that shield is indeed going to go, and one of those Vulcan charges is going to be set off, and as you say, that's a massive area of effect for that fire.
It burns for a long time. It's like a solid 10 seconds. Okay, JJ gets his first of the game. First of the map as well for either side. So the Jaeger might have been forced out of position, but still on Ivy Stairs is making their presence really well known. Now Cyber's got the long iron, the big iron on his hip, looking for the headshot, doesn't quite materialize, has to duck down, but gets swung by MC. Beautiful kill. The Frost has to duck underneath back into the bar site and rotate round, and with a minute remaining, Swansea, I believe, has taken control of that top floor, but they're still pausing. They're still taking their time, despite the fact that it should be clear, to just really, really double, triple check that no one's being, you know, lurking like a goblin around the corner in one of the bookcases.
And I think that's sensible. It's as we say, you know, they're going to play with the patience of Saints. They're going to make sure that now they are very aware of how staffs are starting to play this with that pure goblin energy as well. So it's just making sure you don't get caught off guard by that. You have to be patient with it. Q Machine on a very long flank underneath into the basement though, and this is going to be quite interesting because that could cause an upset, especially given the timer ticking down 20 seconds on the clock now, and that collapse needs to come through, and this could spell trouble for the side of Swansea. So they've taken out games window, JGF5 taking out the Jaff, and they need to go for this execute, and there we go, MC taking down Cute Machine. The flank can't come through, but again, 3 versus 3. little time to work with here.
5 seconds to
You
go.
have to go for the plant. And they're going to try and stick it and just get shot out, probably.
Ooh. Ooh, okay. Sugar, honey, iced tea. Oh, Spack gets domed. JJ closes it home. Okay, Stas, very well played. Swansea left it a little too long, even too long. They overcooked it. Didn't leave them enough time to really get that execute down. That being said, they got really, really close. Staff still pulled it home. Even when they're in these 2 versus 3s, these clutch situations, these 2 versus 2s, Staff's players don't seem to waver.
But this is the thing as well, because actually towards the end there, I think that because of how close the timer was, I think Staffs didn't expect that execute to really come through when it did. I think they thought that they don't have the time at all. They're in no man's land right now, and I think the actual collapse and the very frantic collapse, albeit, but again, the fact that Staffs kind of had a moment of, oh, okay, they're actually trying to plant now, and we can just down them and kill them, and I guess that's something we have to do, guys. We have to kill the other players. It felt a little bit chaotic at the end there, if you ask me. But, you know, Staffs going into this one round already in their favour. It's going to feel good again. Really want to rotate. This is an attack side map, and I do think Swansea did a really, really good job of actually clearing the map and getting that map control. It just was setting up for the execute and actually going and committing to that execute where they had the issue.
And now we're seeing this counter to that map clearing with the Mozzie mute combination. It is the definition of anti-inflammation. You can get a huge area to know in terms of drones. And this can cause quite a few issues for the attackers, especially if they don't.
5 seconds left.
Well, it really depends on the setup. If they are really smart about it and they coordinate, you can essentially completely zone off areas, and without having to physically go in there or burn utility, you cannot drone in there, and you've got to take your time. But I am loving the Zero pick. I think Zero is insane for this map. I think Zero is a pretty insane operator all around, but especially for Chalet. There are so many wood floors on every single floor that, you know, it's such a common thing, but that gadget, people forget, that doesn't just go through walls, it doesn't just go through reinforced walls, it goes through the floor as well. So suddenly you can get a cam anywhere, but it doesn't make a difference if your entire team is getting taken out by a Mozzie library.
And this is it as well, like, okay, he is choosing to back off. Now, I got a little bit spooked there. I was like, Max yet again putting himself in the firing line and hoping that his stars are lucky tonight, because you're getting a little bit spicy there. You know, you've already got one in the library and you're just choosing to commit and even go almost deeper into library, but do much prefer this, and even now falling off completely, deciding to go on a little bit of a lurk downstairs. Sugar Honey Iced Tea, causing a little bit of a ruckus there on Fluke Balcony as a late reinforcement of some walls seems to come through.
Ooh, okay, so mute jammers on that wall in Sugar Honey Iced Tea. They didn't have knowledge of that beforehand. So Selma charges have gone out. Not quite clear enough. Oh, Cyber's peeking in the window, going to try and take the engagement. Just clears the Selma charges for free. Not even contested.
Not punished.
Like, how has that not been punished? Swansea really needs to
step
step it up.
Because you don't expect it. This is the issue, ladies and gentlemen, and Novi. Like, this is the issue.
Ladies, gentlemen, and Novi.
And Novi. You don't expect someone to just suddenly peek you like that and shoot the Selmas off like that. Like, this is what I mean about staff. Like, the confidence they have is massive. It is huge. And unless you're going to punish them for it, it's just unfortunate, to be honest. It's just unfortunate.
And this isn't Swansea, ladies and gentlemen, being slow. This is Swansea getting stalled because they didn't think that that was going to happen. They thought they'd have more time to work that out and try and play underneath and clear the mute jammers like they're trying to do. But Max is waiting there. So while Swansea's trying to get on the same page, they're now getting ripped apart from underneath. Now it's take 2. The Thinker's going to try and fire the frag grenade. Did it work this time? No, it did not. I believe it missed. Now Cyber is hunting for those Swansea players. I still think the Selma charges haven't blown. I haven't heard the reinforcement get exploded. No, both Thinker frag grenades missed, just not getting it quite cooked to perfection. There we go. Finally, as it's done, the Selma charge gets denied by Cyber. This is disastrous. This is painful to watch. unless you're a Stas fan like Grace, and then you're smiling like a Cheshire cat.
Hey,
what do you mean,
There's no bias casting here, ladies and gentlemen. There's no bias casting here. I have so much respect.
Scoff.
No, I have so much respect for the Swansea teams. They all know I do. They all know I love them. They all know I respect them. Jake's after specials, that's what I'm going to say.
Swansea Stas pick now. 3, 2, 1.
Stas,
there we go.
like,
all right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first.
It is my alumni. It is my alumni. I think that they're solid players with so much potential. They've already done so much and they can do so much more. I love the Swansea guys to pieces. I honestly absolutely do adore them so much. I think they're all hilarious as well as very talented players. It's just, of course, we've got to have that alumni respect. You've got to have that alumni respect. Stats on top for 5 years, Logan. That's what I'm going to say. That's what I'm going to say. Stats on top for 5 years.
The reason Grace likes bringing this up is because Grace started the dynasty. So, you know, she likes reminding everyone that she was part of that process. But
I mean,
you said 5 years on top. They haven't won yet. Swansea still, despite how far behind they are right now, 2 maps and 2 rounds in this one. This is the beautiful thing about Siege. It is still winnable. Every single round counts. Swansea can mount the comeback and give us a real series.
Attackers are moving to defuse a bomb.
It's going to be interesting again just to see how Swansea clear this, because the way that they're clearing is so on point. I think they are doing the right things. They're going for the right things. They know where to go. They see that utility that needs to be cleared, and they're reacting to it. It's just these spanners keep coming up from the side of Staffs. Staffs, again, this goblin energy that we keep seeing, this pure goblin energy every single time. And this is why I really want to see maybe a little bit of cheeky Nomad action. I respect the fact that they're taking the 0, and I understand it to an extent. But I, again, just want to see maybe a little bit of Nomad. And then if we get that little bit of Nomad, it could at least cause a little bit of a ruckus when they are going for these Goblin plays.
Jackal.
Or Jackal, in fact. Yeah, Jackal's completely on the board. Jackal would be perfect
Jackal
right
would be
now.
absolutely perfect.
See the foot, see the footies, see the little footies.
The feetsies.
Get a little scanny on the go. Hunt them out before they have a chance to hunt you. That is the name of the game right now if you're Swansea. You need to track down these players that are causing you so many issues and kill them before they kill you. That is what you need to do if you're Swansea. Again, patience of Saints as well, so they can do it. They can do it.
I think the issue is they're having that patience to go on their checklist, and then as soon as Staffs does that play, suddenly that checklist goes out the window, and they're kind of left, out on the lurch. They don't really know what to do because by that point they've lost sight of where the Stas player are, so it's not like they can even call it on the fly. They have to re-drone, refine the information, re-clear and reposition their players to be able to clear that checklist, and then everything kind of goes belly up. But new round, new chance, new sight as well. Swansea looking for their first round of the map. Frag grenade goes out, clears a bit of utility as well, and JJ's going to back off there towards, not quite, but into the jacuzzi area. But this time, it feels like Swansea's taking a slightly wider approach. I was wondering if that's going to work out for them, but no, Cute Machine gets the first again. So Swansea got the first. Actually, no, it is JJ got the first. Actually, every single round, Staffs have gotten the first, I believe, apart from... Maybe I'm wrong on that, but Cyber is just... It doesn't even matter.
It doesn't even matter. It does not matter, Novi. And now we're all left on Sugar Honey, and there we go. The little trade at the end of JGF5, and that's another round in the pocket for Staffs University.
I was setting it up for... Oh, Swansea's going to do this comeback in the round. And
I thought they were clearing it well. They were clearing it well. They were going through the notions. Yet again, patience of Saints for Jake's after special. It's just the fact that, again, these kills just come out. Cyber going on a little bit of a tear. Like, look, dodging about like it's nothing. Float like a hummingbird, sting like a bee.
Isn't it float like a butterfly, sting like a bee?
Oh, it's hummingbird. It's hummingbird.
I'm sure it's hummingbird. It's butterfly? Can we get...
It's hummingbird.
Can someone Google this, please?
It's hummingbird.
All right, we're Googling this on the break.
It's hummingbird. I'm positive it's hummingbird.
Anyway.
At the same time...
We will revisit this.
We will.
But...
Still no change for lineup.
No change for lineup. I complimented this 0. It leans heavily into Swansea's playstyle, but I haven't seen it successfully used properly. even in actual moments where it would have helped quite a lot. So into the master bedroom, when you had that mute jammer, they sent the players underneath to try and use the frag grenades. You just shoot a little zero cam underneath, pew pew, or well, single pew because it's only got one laser, and then pew pew has no mute jammer on the wall. Selma charge can go off, and you can kill Cyber when he tries to swing it inevitably. You know, it's almost these kind of hyphy plays are almost getting predictable in nature by Staffs because they keep doing it because they keep getting away with it. Swansea just needs to punish them once. That will give them the foothold to get back into the game, and then that will force Staffs to have to change their style because they've started to get a little bit predictable with it.
So this is interesting. Surya Gate going actually on the library hatch as well, so that's an extra layer of defense. Now, if they do lose that map control and they do lose that top floor, because again, that's another utility burn you have to get through to actually go for that collapse. We saw how close it came to at the end as well. We saw how close it came to at the end. And if that happens again, that gate could cause a little bit of nuisance for them. And this is again why I wanted to bring the Jackal over Nomad out as something to just help them when it comes to dealing with this defensive, you know, roam game. To be honest, just the defensive roam game, that seems to be the issue they're having here. They're not aware of where these players are, so they can't retaliate to them properly.
Okay, JJ being very patient. But there's actually Cyber on the flank, so one is on either end. One's on the south side, one's on the north side. They've got this really long crossfire because everything is open, everything is soft. They can just rail down bullets or open up more angles. And there is nothing from Swansea to force them off those positions. The Jackal ping would help. The Frost pre-fire just not quite quick enough on the rate of fire. And SPAC will at least recover something for the side of Swansea. But we're halfway through the round, and I still don't see it going much better. Despite that kill going and falling in the way of Swansea, they still are on the back foot. Pew Pew are in control, and Staffs is just taking them for a ride right now. You can see this is the great thing I love about Rooney, especially in Chalet. You punch a hole, you have a nice line of sight, and then you can use that M21, might even back off, or is he going to swing it even further? Pushes it just a little too far, but to be fair, with the way Cyber's playing, I kind of respect it. But JJ's using him as bait.
He is indeed, and that's, again, more Goblin energy, and we love to see it, because, again, technically a 4 versus 2, but more like a 3 versus, well, certainly a 3 versus 2 now that SPAC has indeed finished off Cyber finally. But again, you've got Mate, 1 nade in hand. SPAC, no more flashes. What can they do between the two of them? You know, you've got the Nomad utility.
Attackers have recovered their diffuser.
Again, with the sledge, that really only relies on you doing vert play. That really can only be beneficial when you're doing the vert play utility. And well, you can't even use the utility there. Well, there we go. Max XD clearing up shop.
Why was... I mean, I guess there's only 2 of them and they've got to pick their battles. But surely a late flank onto the library stairs is going to be, you know, pretty telegraphed, pretty obvious. I don't know. And also the fact that JJ got this kill right here, okay? So even if Max wasn't on those library stairs, JJ would have probably gotten the double anyway. And that's got to beg the question with Swansea, where's this communication? Because it's kind of falling apart. JJ killed the player through the window from the main stairs. That should have been communicated over. JJ is most likely still on those stairs, or at least drone it first, or get some eyes on that position. They don't. And so even if Max, for whatever reason, gets shot down there, JJ 100% was going to pick that.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
I think the thing is as well is, like, you know, they did make that adjustment. They did finally bring that Nomad out. But it was so dissatisfying. We didn't really get to see that utility get used in a way that we thought it would have been used. We didn't really get to see, again, just also the fact that the team gets whittled down a little bit and then it just becomes a little bit chaotic at the end. But
it's like when you fancy a really like greasy takeaway or something and you're like really craving it, you have it and then it just makes you feel ill. It doesn't give you that satisfying, you know, crunch, crisp. It's just, it just makes you go, I'm going to hate myself the next day for eating this kind of thing. That's what that Nomad felt like. It was a bit like, it's here, it's doing things, it's just not giving that oomph
That little bit of
Yeah, a little bit of.
No, I agree. I think, but I wish they kind of stuck to it a little bit, though. I think only bringing it ready for the one round was a little bit meh. I think they should have kept on to it. And it certainly would benefit them now as well. We've got Max getting punished, actually. There we go. Teach him a lesson, Jaff. That's what we like to see. But again, Jaff, significant amount of damage done to them by Max. But JJF taking down Mate, going to get punished for a little bit as they are indeed down. Can they crawl to safety into this piano area and get res by one of their teammates? I'm assuming they will, as MC on the hunt for Majir, taking him down there, and it's a 4 versus 3. It's certainly looking better for Swansea right now. A little bit of health boost coming through from the Thinker, and MC making a few cheeky pop shots, just seeing if anyone wants to contest his lines of sight, but at the moment nobody is. And there we go, the res has indeed come through for JJF5. Cute Machine once again being there for his teammates. MC patient of a saint. I think he's very, very concerned. Again, this is what I mean. At this point, you are constantly concerned about the potential of a flank coming through, about someone going for this goblin plays. But now PPU have actually decided they're falling back to site. And this is going to actually, in a way, be a bit of a mental game where they will waste the time to actually drone out all these nooks and crannies on the side of Swansea. And it's actually quite clever if you're staffs. You just have to hold these positions, though. You just have to be patient. No more goblin energy. Just try and win your ones.
You see, Q Machine is really conscious of that door. Really conscious. Oh, okay. There we go. The corner bit has been popped off because the electrical has gone down due to the zero gadget. That's given him an opening. MC has been the player to really, really step up. JJ jumped out the window and it worked for him. He was detected. How on earth did he get away with that? And now it's just Cyber with the big iron, trying to find the angles upon the Swansea attackers, but with 50 seconds, gets taken down. Swansea fight back, and I've got to shout out MC there. Fantastic play, but huge caveat, there was a huge mistake by Staffs, which allowed MC that first opening. That kill on Library Stairs, I'm not quite sure, but I believe MC should have been picked up on top of the default cam there. He should have been picked up as he crossed over, and someone was watching that. That wasn't communicated properly. Staffs a rare fault in their usual communication, which is very solid because of their experience as players together. Swansea took the advantage of it. They got around. They've done it once. Now they just need to do it 6 more times.
6 more times indeed. And again, speaking of more times, hopefully that'll be the last time that Max decides to jump out of any windows today.
I was about to say, punishing the goblin behavior literally came down to him having to remove himself from the building, and then JJ got away with it later on anyway.
Well, that was such a sneaky bait. I couldn't get over that. Oh, that's the goblin behavior I don't mind, because it's like you've gone for a little bit of a bait, you jump back in, and as soon as they jump out to try and deal with you, you've already turned around, you've got that line of sight, and you just have to, shoot your shot. So it's quite. That's the entertaining goblin behavior. Max running out and whiffing all his shots is the ones that probably add about 60 years to my life every time they do it. I'm 7,672.
It's like in the introduction when Ginny was like, tell us about the history of Staffs, and you went, well, the history of Staffs, and I was like, gather around, kids, it's another great story time. Going through the history of the University Siege League.
It's been 67 years.
God.
No,
hopefully we'll get 67 years. I'm genuinely hoping for Swansea to come back in this, because they have, I think Staffs currently are definitely looking like the better team. I think they're looking like the better players. But Swansea have shown through their teamwork that they can match the sum of Staffs pound for pound if things are going their way. So I want them to dig deep and find where their limit is and push beyond that, because we've seen players do it before when their backs against the wall. This is Swansea's chance to demonstrate that. It's a very rare situation you're in, where you're in a championship, you're about to be removed, and you've just got to push it. But Staffs is going to, not be phased, the fact that they've lost a round. They're not even cared that they're not going to get the 7-0. They go aggressive, and that's the thermite and the Sledge and a Finker, which should mean 4 frag grenades removed from the side of Swansea.
I mean, again, JJ really feeling themselves today on 11 kills within the 5 rounds. So
Pretty mad.
Pretty decent. Well, technically 6 rounds now because they didn't get one just now. But taking a little bit of damage there, and they come through. Actually finished off there by MC again, probably one of the favourites of the Swansea roster due to actually representing Null within the UK2 seasons as well. Max taking the pick there onto Sugar Honey Iced Tea. It's not looking too spicy for Swansea right now. And again, this is a point where if you're staffs, you need to behave yourselves. You need to hold these angels. You need to be minding your P's and Q's. Because otherwise, Swansea, if they're clever about it, they can just pick them off one by one. Ooh, Missy 4. That could have been very uncomfortable for Spack. It seemed to blow up the area around him, but not actually him. Talk about lucky, Novi.
Yeah, just behind that little wall. Didn't quite get the RFQ machine going aggressive, but MC, again, is the one to try and pull it back. But 15 seconds or 1 versus 3, this is... Even the best players in the world can't really win these kind of situations. But MC's going to have to go for the ace for the last 7 seconds and gets annihilated by the Nitrocell to close out the round. Poor Iana. And MC as well, because I think... I said I wanted to see players find that limit and push past it. MC is certainly showing why they're such a good player. Like really in this game, I think has demonstrated not only the aim, but also the decision-making ability. Now we switch sides. We said Chalet is an attacking siding. If you're a good team, Staffs is a good team.
Staffs are a good team if they don't play chaotic goblins. If they play militant goblins, perhaps. No, they are a very, very good team, as we've harped on about all evening. It's just the fact that will this translate to their attack now? How clean cut will they be? We did see them do a very, very good job of it attacking onto Clubhouse, which traditionally is a defender-sided map. So when it comes to the attacker-sided maps, you would assume this is a clean breeze. They only have to get this round under their belts for it to be match point, championship point. And I can't stress that enough. These next few rounds will really make it or break it for Swansea. Are they going to go home in second place, feeling like, well, we came so far, only to be shut down by Staffs yet again? Or are Staffs going to, flop it at the last minute because Swansea are just going to put out a very solid defence that Staffs can't deal with?
10 seconds
This
remaining.
would be, I believe,
5 seconds left before insertion.
fifth map win
Attackers
in a
must
row
locate
against
the bomb.
Swansea, including the regular season as well. So unless Swansea wants to allow that win streak to sort of tag up, maybe this is the time when you sort of step up to the plate and show us what you're really made of. They've only got, like you said, that one buffer round, and JJ again with that opener hat. Was that just through the wall? Like, what on earth happened? Now MC's getting taken down. This is disastrous for Swansea. Their top fragger has been removed. Majir gets another one. Staffs are just making short work of Swansea. They're on the site, and Jaff is left alone. Elise is going to deny the flawless round, but I think it really doesn't matter at this point, because he's going to get picked off. Oh, going with the pistol, gets the headshot.
Lord.
Is this Staffs potentially giving an opening? I don't think it's going to be. Round the corner, Cute Machine slaps him down, and Staffordshire move on to map series championship points.
Yes, they do, Novi, and I mean, how do you feel about your earlier predictions now? I'm just curious to know.
Well, at least I, put myself out there and made one. Unlike someone.
I did.
You?
I said 2-0 to Staffs.
I didn't hear that.
And
What?
I can taste something in the air. It tastes like a Staffs victory.
I thought you were going to go down Soul. Or
I mean, it also tastes like Soul, just radiating from you right now, because once again, Staff's doing a phenomenal job. 5 years in a row. 5 years in a row, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the strongest roster yet as well. And honestly, again, not even bias, it's just a good roster. It's such a good roster. They're very talented players with so much potential. Just enjoy them, seeing them play, not only within the university circuits, but other nationals as well. As I say, Cute Machine currently in Benelux. Going to assume that we'll see a lot of them in various national leagues again going forward. Obviously, we've seen Mukin to Nukin, but going forward again, want to see Macy do more as well. MC rather, before he starts kicking off at us again on Twitter. But MC, want to see MC start to get his name out there more and more and more, and do more and more and more, and get into some of these natties as well, because there's so much potential in that player also. And realistically, that's all what Grassroots is about. It's about supporting these players, giving them a fun little thing to do during university, but then it's also giving them that competitive experience where they can network and break into some of these natty leagues as well.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, we've harped on about him, but Jake from Swansea has gone on to, you know, coach teams in PG Nats and things like that. You know, this is a lot of players. This is that taste of that comp experience. And it's that stepping stone on a career within esports. This is what, like you said, Grassroots is all about. But Pew Pew, before we even get to that discussion, has just hammered the first nail into the coffin. But Sugar Honey Iced Tea said, no, 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 they are not out yet. We are still alive and kicking. We are still in this game. And is the pressure going to get to Stas? Is this where their antics come back to bite them? Is this where Swansea make their last stand?
Last stand indeed. So far, looks like Stas having a bit of trouble. This is what I mean. We're going for these nade kills. They know that cubby spot. At least that shield is down now. So Sugar Honey has to run back to that piano spot, and that's going to allow the players in solo now to start making their way up. MC, however, lurking around that bathroom area as Majir starts to go on the double window rappel. Again, you really need this pressure to cut off that rotate from piano into bathroom or even into bedroom itself. So this is a very important position for Majir to hold on to now. That's why we're seeing him kind of look a bit towards the main door and that bunker area, because he is concerned in case a run out comes through. JJ hunting for the heads of a player. He knows there must be one lurking. There's going to be one lurking. And this is an interesting thing as well, because it's like, where is the intel? Well, there we go, taking down Matty as they make their way into this bedroom area. Max coming up to join him as well, but SMG11 to the face. Cute Machine falling, and that plant is going down, Novi. Actually, no, it's been taken off. Spack is going to get the pick, and Sugar Honey onto JJF5 as well, and it's all left down to Majir now in this strong position, but not when you're in a 1 versus 3. You're kind of like a sitting duck, and they know they now have all the time in the world to just let you panic and let you wonder what you're going to do. And oh, he's going for it. Ah, there we are. Spack picking off Majir there because they decided to go for that little window rappel in. But of course, it's a very difficult thing to do, even in the best of conditions. So Swansea, as you say, putting up a fight, putting their heels into the sand and saying, this parachute isn't taking us anytime soon. We're staying on the ground right now. You can't take us down right now. But can they get 4 more rounds in the row, Novi? That is the question on everybody's lips right now, because it's such a formidable task in front of them right now. And it's so difficult. The pressure's on.
Majir was left a little bit hung out to dry at this point, because he was kind of left in that, like you said, in that position is really, really strong if you have teammates to back it up. If you don't, well, then suddenly it's like, well, you're just hanging out pointlessly. It doesn't really work, especially if it's a telegraph position. Swansea live to fight another round. I don't even want to say another day, because there is no more days in this tournament. This is the final, potentially final round for Swansea. And they've got to give it them all. Sugar Honey Iced Tea, I mean, stepped up for the team massively on that smoke with the SMG11. Some of the players are struggling to really get on the mark, and I'm looking for those other players to step up to the plate, carry that weight for the team until those players feel more comfortable and they get their mojo back. Because currently Swansea isn't firing on all cylinders. Stas know this, and they're just taking these gunfights because they know that they can.
I think this is it as well. Like, obviously, JJ absolutely feeling themselves today, but Cyber as well, I just want to point out, has had some absolutely incredible moments where they just pop it up out of nowhere and getting, you know, 1 or 2 picks on across both maps as well. This is the thing. Cyber will just pop about the blue when you think it's kind of getting a bit more chaotic and just clean up shop. And well, JJ opening pick once again going in his favor, taking down Jaff there, and that is the Frost. But again, knowing that you've taken out the Frost doesn't really get rid of her threat, because those Frost mats, those Pog mats as people like to call them, they're still sprinkled across the map. Like sprinkles on a beautiful cake, Novi.
But is this cake going to be a celebration, or is it going to be held at the funeral of Swansea's championship hopes? We are yet to see, because currently a coffin has been brought back out by the Undertakers, and one nail has been hammered in the form of Jaff. There are still 4 players on Swansea waiting. MC getting a little bit aggressive around the mezzanine. JJ is actually going to get tagged down a little bit on the other side of the map. That's Matty just chiming in. Finally, what a time to get the first kill of the map for yourself. Matty, you had the impact though, and you pushed your team ahead. Majir followed suit as well. And now, Swansea. Where has this team been? All map. This is something a little bit different. This is a confident Swansea who aren't panicking. They aren't just running down the clock because we've got to do our due diligence. We're going to swing you. We're going to have a bit of fun with it. But Sugar Honey Iced Tea, you know, all good things have to come to an end. Takes a sip of the drink and goes down below the surface.
And this is it, 3 versus 3 now, pretty evenly matched. But again, if you're Swansea, the pressure is on because you also a match point. Well, there we go, MC taking down Max, but Cute's going to trade that immediately back. 2 versus 2. Both these teams going 1 for 1, trade by trade. It's like the stock market out here, Novi, and I'm happy to see it happening. I'm happy to see this data. I'm happy to see this execute kind of come through a little bit chaotically. Cyber making their way down these library stairs. And there we go, Q Machine taking down Mate. They know it's only this one remaining player left, but SMG11 to the face yet again, and Cyber getting that final pick, and that is Staffs, a 2-0 in this Varsity Finals. Weighted best of 5, so technically a 3-0, and oh my goodness gracious me, the score lines here, Novi, the score lines.
Staffordshire is your grand champions of the spring split. They have won it once again. I know Grace is going to bring this up, but quite rightly so. This is a Staffs dynasty. It really is. It's cemented it. 5 years on the trot. This team is just incredible. So much talent. Commiserations to Swansea, though. They did really rally hard those last few rounds. That's what I wanted from them, and I think despite the scoreline, yes, the scoreline was 7-2, 7-2. I think Swansea can go out with their head held high.
I completely agree with that. I think that Swansea did a really good job. Again, I kept referencing the fact that they were going through these maps with the patience of saints, and that's really what you want to see through teams. Admittedly, Staffs, a lot of their picks came from this Goblin energy that we keep discussing, but Swansea, they were playing so concrete, so by the book. It was really beautiful to see. Good old-fashioned siege, as I like to say. Good old-fashioned siege.
Good old-fashioned siege.
We love to see it. Are kind of an interesting one as well, because again, this does mean 5 years, officially 5 years of Staff's dominance. Officially.
I've got to hear this for so much
for
longer.
The Stampede.
Ginny, please, save us. Save us here, please, please. Come on.
Officially 5 years. That's all.
Oh, come on, stop. Move past the point.
But that was such a solid performance coming through from Pew Pew, and that's such a well-deserved win on their play for 5 years in a row. And we're going to be looking at MVPs right now, because if you had to choose, Grace, who would it be?
JJF5. Okay. JJF5 put on a phenomenal performance, both maps, a solid player through and through. Was stoked for him to come into the Staffs roster. MVP for Swansea?
I've got to say MC. I have to, because that performance on Chalet, it was dire straits, but MC was just sticking with it. And I think that rally was off of MC's play. MC sort of created those opportunities, and suddenly you saw Swansea, all those players, Sugar Honey Iced Tea and the rest of them, suddenly picked up a performance because MC led the way for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, doing captain things, just setting correct example, and it was incredible to see how these teams have played it out tonight. But I also kind of want to ask you guys, I'm going to start off with you specifically. if you're looking at the games we've seen played, well, 2 games, unfortunately, not all 3 games were played today, but what was the highlight? What was that one round where you're like, yes, this is beautiful Siege, and I want to see this time and time again?
It was genuinely, I think, the last 3 rounds. It was Staffs having to think a little bit more beyond just running in and gunning, and it was Swansea stepping up to the mark and going, yes, we can take you in those gunfights. We will try and punish you for it. Once they got that, it's like they found that secret sauce, and they suddenly started to convert rounds. They just found the sauce too late, Grace. Too late they found the sauce.
Are you hungry?
I'm a little bit hungry.
So
It's
many
dinner
food
time.
references here. So many food references.
Grace, I want to ask you a question before we head into interview, and that is specifically when it comes to that 5-year rule that they have so far. Do you think any team at all has that ability, the strength to kind of dethrone them?
Absolutely. I think Swansea, again, like, the thing is, this is the thing. We looked at the bracket earlier. Swansea, near Citadel, Loughborough's as an example too,
Yeah.
Loughborough. All of these teams that end up in this, upper bracket for the varsity, it's like, you see these unis, you see that they've got all this raw talent, you see that they put the work in. Again, uni students and players tend to mesh well together because of the fact that they're very hardworking, hopefully, in general. You would assume they're doing their assignments. But it's the fact that every single time it's the same unis, and it's for a reason. They just know how to make it work. They know how to work together as a team, and that's going to set them on a nice trajectory for the next few years, even after uni, in my opinion.
Yeah, I want to ask you the question that if you had the opportunity to interview, what questions you would be asking. But since we have an interview on the way anyway, I actually don't have to ask that. And you guys can ask your questions at Liberty once that is completely set up. And until then, I kind of want to go back into that, university student and players and how you kind of brought up the point that they do mesh well together. I'm going to ask you the question here, Nervi, and that is, why do you think that is? Because people do graduate, right? Like, they move on to different things, but it looks like the range just, it stays in place regardless of time.
Yeah, this is something that I've had countless arguments with people who don't understand what esports is. This is something that I've argued with academics and university students. It's the benefits that esports gets, it's the transferable skills.
Yes.
All these players, whether you win or lose, like in this ecosystem with Newell providing these tournaments, you're in a position where you build teamwork, you build leadership, you build strategy, all these transferable skills go on. And this doesn't, this is not just for the players. All the production team behind, I know plenty of people who started on Newell broadcast who are now in the professional industry, and this is such huge props to like the production team, because like for a lot of people this was their stepping stone into their career, and this is why grassroots esports that Newell brings is so important.
No, 100%, I agree. And again, even, outside of what you've said, when we do focus on the players, we saw Newell set a roster into Ubisoft UK's UKIN 2 division, and every single person, your T1 coaches turning around, Tier 1 coaches turning around and being like, fair play, that is progress. And it's because Newell will pull in the work of being like, not only are we going to provide these tournaments, we're going to provide that roster, we're going to give them the training they need, we're going to give them the opportunity to show their stuff. And that is why stuff like this is so important to grassroots, and it's why UK Massive on top, because our grassroots is so strong, and you're only as strong as that bottom rung of the pyramid.
Absolutely.
And Intel and University Esports as well, Amazon University Esports, making this possible, as well as this incredible plushie coming through, Noah, really keeping us company on the desk. I just yoinked your child, but I will give it right back.
You can have mine. You can have both of them.
Twins!
Okay.
The twins!
Which one? Okay, so we kind of said that Noah is the name of the plushie. We know that. But if you had to rename them, if you had to, like, you adopted them, they're now yours.
If Noah needed a friend.
If Noah needed a friend.
Noah 2.
Very creative, yes. Noah 2. Which one's 2? Which one's 1?
This will be 2. This will be 1.
Well, so my one is
It's
the
like,
two.
you know when you've got like an angel and a devil on your shoulder, but it's just two novies.
Two
Two
novies.
Yeah,
there we
two
go.
Novi gates.
Novi
Nerf the
Lanes.
LMG.
No be labes.
Nerf the LMG. Yeah, no, we got these beautiful plushies to go with this beautiful set as well, and I'm sure in the future you will see more of these plushies because they are adorable, and it is of course the Newell mascot. Newell's
English is a
mascot.
bit difficult today.
Noah. Yeah, a bit of a tongue twister today.
But as we keep waiting on this interview for a couple more seconds, I also kind of want to highlight the strength that Swansea brought into this game.
Absolutely.
Like, they did really, really well. And sure, it wasn't enough coming through. We're going to have a couple of replays as well, just so we can talk you guys over exactly what has been going on and just how strong their performance has been individually, but also as a team. So for them specifically, when we're looking at Swansea, and if they want to contest Pew Pew, if they want to really try and dethrone those kings, so to say, Nervy, what do you think they have to focus on going into the next split?
I think Swansea does what a lot of teams struggle with in the University League very, very well, which is the discipline. And as Grace touched on, the patience of the Saints. That's something that the patience element, you see a lot of players are rushing it a little bit too much. I believe the thing that Swansea needs to sort of get to grips with is, as I said, what they did in the last 3 rounds, where they kind of throw it out the window and go, you know what, I am a better player. Like, you've got to back yourself in those Angels. It doesn't matter who you're playing against, whether, it's in a University League, whether it's in UCAN, whether you're going against a 2-time world champion. It doesn't matter. You have to back yourself and go, when I'm swinging that angle, I'm taking that guy's head off. I don't care. And you saw that in Swansea, but it was right at the end. If we had that all the way through, there would be a lot of gunfights that could have gone either way, because instead of Staffs taking Swansea by surprise, Swansea would be taking Staffs by surprise.
So invest in yourselves, everybody. That's the message that we
Back
got
yourself.
coming through. But Grace, I have a question for you specifically, and that's more focused on the side of Pew Pew. And what can teams learn from them specifically? And what can they copy?
Don't jump out of windows, even though it works.
Good Lord, what a question. I mean, again, it's the thing is playing hyper aggressive works, but it's situational. And there have been moments where Pew Pew themselves, it was worked because the other team were not expecting stuff like that. But with a very, very, I don't want to say sharp-witted team, because of course Swansea is sharp-witted, but it's more if people are expecting that aggression and they come to the table and they're jumping out of windows and stuff and they're going for these ratty little goblin plays. A team that can shut plays like that down, that's where you want to be thinking. You want to be thinking, okay, they're playing a little bit ratty, they're being goblins, we bring out the nomad, the jackal, stuff like that. We deal with that roam presence, and that's where I think that people should be thinking more of. It's not just about the gunfights, it's about that map control and making sure you're as safe as possible to go for that collapse.
Yeah, and if that's if you're looking to get a win, maybe incorporate some of our casters' incredible advice here, whether it's in your own comp games or as in a team environment, because these players are really, top of the crop, so to say. They have been able to show up and show off, and they really prove their worth time and time again. And we kind of spoke a little bit about the MVPs. I feel like we didn't really go as much into detail as we would have liked to. So I kind of want to bring it back to that point specifically because, yes, every single member has done really well. They gelled together as a team perfectly. But if you had to point out one player that you think has a bright future ahead of them, Grace, and why that would be the case, who would it be?
I mean, can I say MC again though?
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
I'm gonna just be very blunt about my point here, to be honest, because it's me, and of course it's gonna happen. MC, on the trajectory that we've seen them go on the last few years, if they keep on that trajectory, I think one day we will see them T1, T2. Genuinely.
I think it's the possibility. There's very few players. I mean, this isn't just a Siege specific thing, but across esports, there's been often times where you've had players who have genuinely been like bronze or silver even, and then suddenly the attitude flips, their talent comes in and they unlock it and they'll grind their way up. There's been plenty, not everyone's Shaiko where they're just, FPL stars just, causing havoc in ranked. Some people, they take their way through, they prove themselves as a good teammate, they provide those skills, because KD isn't always the best indicator. We often talk about that. You have communication, you have your aspect as a team player. And one player who I think to me embodies that spirit is Nello. He can frag out, but in the end of the day, he's kind of like this leadership sort of support player who's like this rock that the team can rely on. Gets dropped from a team and is like the only player to work his way back up and then qualify again for that top level. And that shows that it's not necessarily just about raw talent, it's the tenacity to work hard along with it. That is so, so important.
I think we're lucky that we just had the final we did, because I would say that probably about most of the players in these rosters as well, especially on the side of staffs. As I say, we've already seen them kind of T2, T3, T4, and the sky's the limit, really. If you want something so badly, you will work till you get it, basically.
Get a mood board, manifest
manifest
believe in
mood
it.
board,
It can happen
exactly,
if you
exactly.
put your mind to it. As Novi might say, put the grind to it or whatever.
Back yourself.
Yeah, back
yourself.
That's the #1 message we got here from broadcast today. Back yourself, invest in yourself. Don't do Bitcoin. Stay in school. What else can we really say here? But I think you're absolutely correct in terms of these players being so good at. I think it's also a lot of time management coming into play, because you are at university.
Absolutely.
You still have a lot of things that you need to do, and I think it's also more of a mental aspect of, because being completely honest, university is not as easy as people make it out to be, and it's not like, oh, you're just gonna go, you're gonna not go to that 9 a.m. lecture, you're gonna watch the recording instead. Don't do that. I know a couple of people might have done that, myself included, but Neil, again, really providing that grassroots, really providing that foundation to give these players and to give the students particularly as well, like those opportunities as you mentioned, Nervi. But so when we're looking at it from like a student and being a player as well at the same time, besides a time management thing, Grace, what do you think is the most or the couple most crucial points that they really need to focus on? Do you think it's really important to also have that backup plan of, yes, I'm doing well in university, I can always go and do something like that? Or do you think it's just, I'm going to focus on my play and I don't really care about what happens to my university?
I mean, I think that's a pretty deep question, because when you consider life in general, the world is your oyster, genuinely. I think that if you want to go and do anything at any point, you can. It's just more the fact that I think with uni players specifically, and I mentioned this so much in UCAN and UCAN 2 as well, people were doubting these players to begin with because they were like, oh, uni players, and then they were actually doing really well. And it's like, I kept saying every single time, it's not just for time management, it's for stress management.
Okay.
These players have deadlines, they deal with that deadline stress, they're focused, they know when their deadlines are, they get it done. Whether that's 2 weeks in advance or whether that's the night before, they're still getting it done. They're dealing with that stress, and that is attractive when you're dealing with, okay, what players we want with the team. Okay, I actually want players that can perform under these stressful situations. Like, university is a stressful situation. If you're playing a tournament whilst at uni, you are showcasing your abilities to deal with those stress levels. And again, when it comes to competitive esports, when it comes to especially that top tier, stress management makes or breaks people. It's all about the psychology, all about that sports psychology game, and that's where teams will crumble. But I really think that if you keep nurturing these uni students, it's going to be a very solid T1 one day.
Yeah, and at the top, if you're talking about the top, I don't know, like 3,000 players in the world, the actual, although it seems like there's this huge mechanical difference between them, to be honest, a lot of them, it's very, very close. It's all those other things that really make a difference. It's the experience, it's the intuition, it's the game knowledge. And although part of me is like, yeah, if you think you can go for it, commit fully. At the same time, one of the realistic facts in everything you do, even if it's something you love, like we love casting, but there's still some bits that we might not like, that we might fumble something, we work on it. And so having that element of balance, work-life balance between it, as long as you're always looking for those transferable skills, even if it's something you don't necessarily enjoy, or you're like, this isn't my passion, esports is my passion. If you take those skills out of it, the people who didn't take those skills out of it are going to lack that, and that's something that you have as an advantage that you can bring to the table, bring to that team. And you don't have to be the most talented player on the roster, you just need to be the best teammate you can be on the roster. And that's it's not always about being at the top of the leaderboard, it's about being on the top team, and that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, so that time management, stress manage. Okay, English is getting a bit lazy on the broadcast, but the time management and the stress management specifically for these players, definitely one of those key aspects that do make them stand out. And from the other players, and well, we don't have to wait much longer and kind of try and just speculate as to what makes these players stand out, because we have the interview ready. We can ask them ourselves.
Who we getting?
Let's get it up on the screen.
Rubbing our hands together.
He's excited. Everyone's excited.
Why am I nervous? How's my hair?
Do you feel like you're going on a blind date here? Like, what is happening?
What's happening?
What is happening to Novi, ladies and gentlemen? I don't...
Shut up.
He's getting all flustered over the thought of interviewing a staffs player.
Yeah. interview is ready. So let's start off, and I'll guess first question is going to be coming from me. And first of all, I want to say congratulations, guys, on securing that win. Incredible performance that has been coming through, and you guys did really well. We had a bit of a speculation here coming through on that time management, that stress management, and balancing university and just playing esports on a competitive level, so to say. Do you feel like being part of Newell and being able to secure that win as well has given you the skills necessary to succeed and even push further?
I mean, for sure, like, a lot of the players on our team have got experience outside of the university level. So it's different.
Max?
Yeah, I'm
Is
speaking.
it because
Hello?
he knows he's going to get flamed by
I
Grace?
think
I'm
it's
speaking.
because
I'm
he
speaking.
knows.
He's like, I'm going to keep quiet because
gonna-
I did some
Yeah, I'm
ratty
speaking.
plays. Oh,
There
oh,
we
there
go.
it is.
There
Go,
we
hello.
go. We can hear you now,
Hello.
Max.
All right, yeah. A lot of our players got experience outside the university scene, so Newell is like a way for us to like come together, have a bit of fun while playing it. But it's always nice to see like good competition within the scene, and like Swansea definitely had us like when we played during the regular season and the upper finals, so we knew they were going to be a little bit difficult. So we did put a little bit of work in to prep for them, and yeah, it turned out well for us.
I mean, do you wanna talk about the library window run out, Max? Because I think you knew it was coming. I think you knew. Again, appreciate the aggression, appreciate the goblin antics, but sometimes I do feel you were a little bit over aggressive at times. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Thank
I'm the
you.
most aggressive player on that team, but like stupid aggressive.
Yes.
Like JJ is like, people call him like the rat player, like he's the one that likes to crouch walk up the basement and play aggressive. But I just have no willingness to go against the norm, and I just jump out where I want. And to be fair, I waited one more second, I would have had it, but that's my fault. So.
I mean, again, I'm just thinking Clubhouse when you got into CC, there wasn't the setup properly for the execute yet, and you were just contesting people in cash, and I was like, I had my hand against my head, and I was like, Max just wants me to die early at this point. Like, Max just wants me to get stress overload.
It's the management of stress. It's not good for a
it's
caster either,
not,
is it?
It's not. My heart was like crumbling to pieces. I was like, why is he doing this? But no, I think really good going. And again, I'm just going to quickly ask, like, with the pickup of JJ, that seems to be going so well for you. And as I said earlier in the broadcast, I was so excited to see JJ join staffs. And I'm just wondering, like, how that's been for you, like, mixing up the blood a little bit.
No, I mean, it's been great. We've always had like a core, maybe 3 or 4 of like really good players. And then we've kind of like had to work with like someone who's maybe not as experienced, but like adding JJ to the roster just gives us like the full flexibility to do what we want with the roster. And I think it really helped us, especially with our time management and our attacks, because we on the fly are all able to adjust how we play. And like with JJ's experience playing in UKIN and above, like it's just been so great for the whole team, and the vibes are there with him as well. The vibes are always there. That's what matters.
That's what we like to see.
All right, Max, I've got to say congratulations first to you and the rest of the team. Like, well deserved. You've of course had this whole run through. The regular split as well was very dominant. Swansea, of course, you said good opponents, but you mentioned there's been sort of, good competition this year, despite how dominant you've been. Is there any other teams from any other universities that, you might want to give a shout out because you went, there's some talent here that we could see that, and they kind of, made us maybe sweat a little bit, just a little bit in their games?
I mean, during the regular season, we forfeited 2 of our games. One was to Manchester, which would have been a good game, I think. Maybe like middle of the pack sort of team, but like Birmingham, I really wanted to play Birmingham because like shout out Chinwalu and Kevin, because those guys are funny, they're entertaining, they like to cheat, which is normal. Like Chinwalu's R6 tab looks like a Christmas tree.
Oh my god.
But like I would have loved to play against them. We forfeited and we hoped we'd play them, but we didn't. But if there's like a team specifically we didn't get to play that we'll look out for, it's definitely them.
Sounds good.
Sorry, I've been waiting for this moment for like a year because last year it got stolen by Astros. So,
is there anyone other than that, all right, you would like to shout out? Like any team at all that you did play, you did have the pleasure.
I mean, obviously Swansea, they were great. We played them. We played Nottingham in the semi-finals. We were able to have fun against them. Those guys were quite light-hearted. They were good opponents. Kiel were like the only team that like also pushed us, but we also had 2 subs in that game, so it's hard to judge whether or not with our full team the game would have been more one-sided. But yeah, especially as like our varsity opponents, definitely they were a good team as well.
Yeah, well, since we are on this topic of shoutouts, and in true Genie fashion, before I like to close off an interview, I want to ask you, Max, specifically, do you have any shoutouts, whether it's for your cat, for your dog, for your family, for university, for Newell, doesn't matter. Any shoutouts do you want to give before we end this off?
Shout out my mum and dad. I woke them up while playing this. I'm really sorry. Everyone that was watching the chat that supported us, because everyone likes to support an underdog, but sometimes it's nice to, even when, you know, you're more favourable to win, it's always nice to still have people support you. Shout out casters and host. You guys are great. Novocaine, nice jersey.
Did you put him up to that?
I know.
Did you put him up to that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Check your PayPal.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like everyone, like we don't represent staffs when we play, but the uni's still the uni's great. They do a lot to help out. So, and of course the team. We've been together as League Core for a long time now. I think this might be the last time we play, so it's nice to finish like our varsity run with a win. But yeah, all good things have to come to an end, and we have to give a chance to Swansea. They can't come second every time.
I love it. I love it so much.
Oh, thanks, Max. Honestly, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And
thank you very much.
I think from all of us, genuinely, congratulations. It's been insane.
Yeah, you guys did absolutely incredible. And once again, congratulations on the win. Go enjoy the celebration. Just make sure it is COVID safe. And also congratulations on the win. You know, £250 worth of Amazon gift vouchers for every single one of the players, as well as a Newell hoodie with your name on it. You know, what more can you ask for? I hope you guys have an incredible evening. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your performances. And hopefully we'll see more of you soon. It's the Noah. It's the Noah waves, guys. Production, can we get a bit of a